Welcome, my dear friends. It's wonderful to see you again. I am Stephen Clements, a writer, a gamer, and an appreciator of big brain activities in general. And on this channel, I get to read my short stories, and so we're going to continue on with part 2 of 3 of Going Home. If you haven't seen part 1 of 3, I suggest you go back and check that out, and we'll put a link in the description for you to make it easy. And be sure to come back for part 3. So, without further ado, my dear friends, let's get back to it. And we had left off with Cyril, the fallen angel, flashing a quick smile at our main character and saying, "Let's get out of here. Let's get away from this prison I've been in the Pyrenees for untold ages." And I could tell you all about this place on the way back. So, picking up with part 2. I found my strength complete and weariness to be only a distant companion, as Cyril and I sped toward the rental car, which I had taken as far as I could toward the site. Admittedly, that had stranded my research assistant, but she was even less of a concern now than she had been before. She always talked about being an empowered woman. She'd figure it out. Cyril was perplexed to hear me describe what a car was at first, but as I turned it on for our drive to Paris, he grew intrigued. As an artificer, he was amazed by what mankind had created and wanted to learn everything about it. For now, though, I drove. I warn you, we'll have to go through Paris and the airport to get to my home in America. America? What's that? It's a big continent to the west of here. Oh, that place? It's still there? I'm amazed they didn't destroy that whole place ages ago. Surprised, I asked, who would have destroyed it? All in due time, was all Cyril said, frustratingly. Do you have a problem with crowds of people? There are millions of people in Paris. Lots of Christian churches, although few people go to them. Cyril explained, I appear this way because something in you sees me this way. I will appear differently to others, depending on how their spirit sees me. I have no material form, as I am a spirit of the air and light. I can interact with the physical world, but I have no body. Most people will not even notice me, and I can sense people who might react poorly. I can avoid them. I do not want to start any fights. Intriguing. I wondered how any of that worked. So I've been thinking about how to best teach you to feel regret, I said. Yes? I think you should meet my family. They're that bad? No! I could not contain a laugh. I have deep, long-lasting relationships with these people. They mean the most to me of anyone in the world, and it would seem the root of your problem is that you no longer have a relationship with the person, entity, or place with which you want to reconnect. So I propose that you meet them and watch us interact. I trust you are an observant person or being, so pay attention to how we interact and pick up on the obvious affections we have for each other. I will steer the conversation toward things we wish we hadn't done to each other. The transgressions will be light at first, memories we can laugh at now, and then get more serious. We get along well, so have no fear of harming our relationships. This may enable you to learn of our remorse for having harmed each other, the pain they felt, and how we found a way to forgive one another. Perhaps that will stir something in you upon which to build. Cyril nodded. That sounds like an excellent plan. Start at the roots and build up from there. Are any of you particularly religious? I didn't have to think long. Not really. I teach at a Catholic university, but it's religious only on paper and for the couple of priests that work there. The Catholic Student Union is the smallest student group we have on campus. Why are you not? I'm a good enough person. I give to charity. If there is a God, I paused, looking at the fallen angel sitting in the passenger seat to my right. I figure that sitting in a church pew on Sunday isn't enough to get one to heaven, and that surely deeds count for more. And frankly, if you look around the world, there's slaughter and death, famine, disease, child rapists, adult rapists, everywhere. Where's God for those people? Cyril responded, You're more right than you know. I looked over at Cyril excitedly, my eyes asking for the answer. Cyril smirked back. Not yet, greedy human. Sometime soon you will tell me, and then I could quit studying books. I could just ask you, what better source than the being that made the mountains and the air about climate change? Who better to ask about how to cure disease than the being who helped make these bodies? Who better to ask about how to travel through space than... You do not want to do that, Cyril swiftly and firmly interjected. My eyebrows furrowed in puzzlement. The intensity of Cyril's tone told me not to press for why. Cyril changed the subject. Tell me about this airport. You said we're going to fly to America. How? Yes, well, in the last century, the people living in America discovered the technology to fly ourselves around in tubes, with wings to guide us and propellers to move us. But how do you monkeys, people, know how to fly? Lots of practice. We rarely crash anymore, I said proudly. Cyril's tone of interest waned, replaced by sorrow. I remember what it was like to fly when I had wings. He gave something away. Angels do have wings, which also means that when they fall from grace, they somehow lose them. I must remember to ask more about that. At that point, my cell phone rang for the 5th time now that it had service. It was my damned research assistant. The anger of her crushing the call button came across in the otherwise neutral ringtone, but I did not dare answer. What is that? Oh, it's a cellular phone. A what? Almost every person in the world has one of these, and with each one you get a special numerical code assigned to you. If I want to call my mother, I can dial her code, and wherever she is, no matter how far away, she can answer and talk to me. The technology is even advanced to where we can look at each other as we talk. Cyril's eyebrows rose in wonder. You monkeys, people are amazing. Being able to talk to anyone in the world instantly and being able to shut it off when you do not want to speak with them. The second part was a luxury I did not have until I was cast down. My curiosity could bear it no longer, so I asked, what is it like to be you? I find it amazing that you, an eternal being that has witnessed the entirety of history, are impressed by a cell phone. I like knowing how things work. Remember, I'm a builder, but I haven't been able to create anything in a very long time. But even your imprisonment was a drop in the bucket in years for you. It didn't feel like it. Do you ever just turn off your mind and rest? No. I was aware the entire time. We do not sleep. How did you not go mad? As I said, I'm built different than you. I will share this. You get bored and frustrated when things do not happen quickly enough because you know that you have a finite amount of time to do everything you want before you die. I do not. I am eternal. I do not have a rush to have children. I do not have a need to impress the other people with my prowess to allow me to move up the pecking order. None of that. I can abide. Ha! Like the dude. The what? The dude is a character from a movie or a play that has been recorded and can be watched at any time. And his tagline is, "The dude abides." He must be a well-adjusted person at peace with the world. Mostly. That bit of jest aside, I did not mean to waste a captive fallen angel on Coen Brothers trivia. You stated you created the mountains and the sky. What else did you create? And how much of it did you individually do? I was of an order of angels that could create anything non-living. So the materials used in making this car, the things I already mentioned, anything. I was not made to create animals, and unfortunately the Creator was jealous on the details of how mankind came to be. Only the favorites created the things that breathe, and only 3 knew what went into making mankind. After I fell, I experimented with creating life because I wanted to see if I could make men better than the Creator, since the Creator made such flawed creatures so subject to death and pain. All I could make, though, were automatons with no spark of life or free will. Apparently, Only the Creator had the ability to put that special something into your kind. I also cannot resurrect the dead, but I heard that Jesus could. Having tried that before, it bewilders my mind that he could do such a thing. The Creator never did that. How interesting. You keep saying the Creator. Is that a he or a she? I would not use either, which speaks to my point about perspective. Mankind cannot move themselves and how they think about themselves out of the picture long enough to accurately describe much of anything. When I start laying out the unified principle of creation, it may become clear as to why I say that. To answer your question of what it's like to be me, I promise to let you reveal everything you want to the world after the dinner party. I'll tell you everything I know from my perspective so you can see how a being such as I sees reality. That, in and of itself, will transform how you and your philosophers and scientists see the world. You can tell your guests, you can write your papers, you can tell the world everything. All I want is to know if there's any chance at freedom for me. At that moment, I wondered if I would share my discovery, my fallen angel, with the world. Most people would be horrified or unsettlingly pleased to find out that a fallen angel existed and was available for questions, no less. It may be better to keep him hidden, perhaps bound someplace safe, to ensure nobody else would steal my greatest discovery. Cyril just finished stating he had no interest in self-aggrandizement, so why not use his revelations to build up my own glory? I would teach Cyril what he desired most and be greatly rewarded in the process. So, how did you come to rest in the Pyrenees? I did promise you an explanation of that site, but let me think. How do I reckon where I'm from? From heaven? From the place I fell? From the cult side of my greatest power? The earliest culture that worshiped me that you would know of was the Phrygians of deep western Anatolia. From the look in your eye, I can see that you don't know much about them. Then Astartes' plan worked. Once the rulers of that necromantic oligarchy had sacrificed the last living child of their nation, torn from Astartes' helpless arms by the crazed mob, he slew them all. He didn't stop with the rulers, as he realized the common people were as wholly corrupt as their wicked masters. He spilled their blood wherever he could find his countrymen, and find them he did. Not one of them survived his blade, and neither did he. I did nothing to stop him. My eyes widened in alarm. Did you corrupt them? They were broken vessels when they found me. A poisoned well kills no one until they drink of it. But some people do not know the well is poisoned. Not water that reeks of brimstone. What about the people that didn't deal with you? They were innocent and subjected to... What role did you play in their society? I've gotten ahead of myself. It began with Mirah the sorcerer. He discovered me, and when he learned what I could do and teach him, he made me an offer and turned that power against his people's gatekeeper. When I undid the gatekeeper, he showed the people signs and wonders to cow them into submission. At first, wait, gatekeeper? You undid their gatekeeper. What does that mean? You don't have them anymore. Long before Abram spoke of the Creator, the gatekeepers were entities that defended their chosen people from monsters, demons, great beasts, and other horrors, the likes of which you've never known. However, gatekeepers were created entities, so I could break them. Any other fallen angel would have had a titanic struggle on their hands, and I cannot imagine it would be worth the trouble. But the Mirah betrayed the conqueror of Leviathan and queller of Periel. I know I have done awful things. The Creator could not have been pleased with that. But at first, I was hidden as Mirah came to power. He astonished his people with power not his own, so they followed him out of fear and awe. Fear because the people knew the terrors the gatekeeper had held at bay, and now they were defenseless. To prove his worthiness, I staged a battle where Mirah proved himself as worthy a champion against the untold horrors, and they reluctantly accepted him as their leader. They had no choice, because they faced certain devouring otherwise. As time went on, though, He drank too deeply of the knowledge I possess and abused it. The people again came to fear him as his madness flourished and his cruelty grew. The judges of Phrygia slew him in his sleep and then managed to destroy his raging corpse in a vicious magical battle. I shook my head in disbelief. Magic? Sorcerers? You don't mean to say that claptrap is true? Cyril was silent for too long. Looking over at him, I saw a dead stare coming from his eyes. I swallowed hard. Continue. The surviving judges discovered the source of his power and swore to themselves that they could use me for good. They were not the first to make such a claim. When Astartes bled out their throats after the centuries of atrocity they inflicted on their nation, I could not blame him for it. I have not always delighted in carnage, which makes me think I may be able to, someday. No remorse for it. He smiled weakly at me. I have to try. I will make myself try. He next said, when the next wave of settlers came to Phrygia, they brought a cult worshipping what they thought was a fertility goddess named Cybele with them. And based on what little they could recover of the previous inhabitants, they eventually named me her consort, Addis. By then, though, I had little interest in them, and I roamed free for a time, wreaking havoc or interacting with people around the world. However, millennia ago, and I will be more precise later, the demon-worshipping stargazers learned from their masters how to bind me. They summoned and bound me against my will, using secrets it took me years to understand. I feared their demon masters sought to destroy me for my crimes against the darkness, but they used me to reward and guide their followers. They were even more cruel than the Phrygians, and there is good reason you will find no trace of the horrid wonders they made. Whatever evil the Celts and Romans committed, it was as nothing compared to the stargazers. Cyril stopped talking and looked at me. But you look tired. I suddenly realized the exertions of the past days had caught up with me. Indeed, perhaps we should find the next hotel and stay there. I'm not tired, Cyril offered. I've been watching how you operate this machination, and I never tire. Let me drive. We come to the end of the second part of Going Home. I hope you're enjoying it so far, and if you are enjoying this, I do enjoy people liking and subscribing. If this part has inspired any particular thoughts or curiosities in you about deep history or some of the concepts that the protagonist and Cyril are talking about, please drop those in the comments below, because I'd like to see how this is inspiring you, because there's a bunch of neat stuff going on in here. I'd like to hear the possibilities that come to your mind as we explore these occult deep history ideas. And now that we're done with part 2, I want to thank you for your time and that you chose to spend it with me. And as we, dear friends, part for now, I wish you nothing but the best.